Nearly 1 in 13 adults struggles with anger that is intense, inappropriate, or difficult to control. But anger rarely destroys your life all at once. It usually happens slowly through damaged relationships, impulsive decisions, resentment, and reactions you wish you could take back. And the problem is that most of us were never taught what anger actually is, what may be hiding underneath it, or how to control it before it starts controlling us. And today on Hud Lucas Podcast, I'm joined by Cece Tardiff, a therapist, registered social worker, and specialist in anger management, cognitive behavior therapy, and trauma-focused therapy. For the past 12 years, she has helped people understand the patterns, experiences, and hidden triggers behind their anger. Today we're going to discuss the warning signs of a serious anger problem, whether lifelong patterns can actually be rewired, why certain triggers have almost nothing to do with the present moment, and the common anger advice that maybe is doing more harm than good. Cece, welcome to the Hud Lucas Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Hudson. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being the first guest on my podcast. I'm really happy you're here because I've learned lots from you, and I'm sure that you will share lots of good advice here today.
Oh, absolutely. Bring it on.
Nice. Okay, so how's your anger? Is it good? Everything managed? Everything in control?
So far, so good. I think pretty low. We talk about the scale, right? Like from
Yes.
1 to 10. I think right now, maybe just 1 or 2. And just because I'm really tired.
Oh, it's a bad trigger. That's my trigger. And then when you're tired, oh my God, no, I can't be.
No, not a bad way. It's just tired from,
Yeah.
I've been working all day, and usually around this time I'm winding down. So it's not that noticeable, as you can see. I'm still smiling.
Yes. Good. It's always a very complicated topic. People, they are, nowadays, I've seen people doing crazy things like road rages and crazy things going on. I've experienced tons, as you know, I've experienced lots of personal situations when I see people losing control. And the first question I want to ask you is, what's a sign that someone has a real anger problem? Like, the most people would never guess is actually about anger, but still, it's a problem.
A sign that somebody has a real anger problem. This is something that you have to see over a period of time. The way to answer that question is really to dispel some of the beliefs that people have about anger, that there are people that are always angry, that there are people that are just prone to anger all the time. The thing is the sign can be anything. The sign can be, again, if you're too tired, you're too hungry, you are too lonely, you are too probably thirsty, like these extremes that we experience in our bodies. As you can see, I mentioned I mentioned physiological reactions, right? Or you are really frustrated, or somebody that seems to be really depressed, or somebody that seems to be really sad, or somebody that seems to be really resentful of something. So it's very hard to just give you one answer of like somebody that seems to have anger problems, because all of those things can lead to anger and can lead to anger all the time.
Right.
Until we check them. Yes.
Right. Is there something that you can tell? Like, for example, because I've seen tons of people dealing with lots of problems in their life, personal problems. And I can tell now after, because I've done anger management, as you know. And now I can see lots of signs, lots of triggers. I can tell right away that a person has, I don't know if an anger issue, but I can tell that there's something going on, So is there anything that, for example, somebody, when they go talk to you and they start talking, these things are happening. For example, with me was like, I said, Cece, people are getting mad at me all the time. And in my head was like, is it me or the world is going crazy, right? So I noticed something. I noticed a pattern because I love to analyze myself, not that much as I used to, because I'm way more self-aware right now. But is there anything that a person tell you right away, like for example, oh, this thing, every time I start talking to someone, I start to get really upset. Is there like something that, like a pattern that you see on people that you see right away, oh, this person might have anger issues?
It would be, yeah, so that's very visible reactions. Like, say they are, maybe I'm in the vehicle
Right.
with them, for whatever reason, I'm passing with them, and they just get so pissed off about something that maybe for me it's really is really silly or really small, right? And yes, we do. I think most of us have a little bit of road rage sometimes, but it's
Yes.
almost like, yeah, you just get annoyed and move on. But I've seen people really like take it personally,
Right.
you know, to a point that they want to show the other person like how pissed off they are. They might even like roll down the window and
Right.
do something, give them the look or give them something else, you know,
I know. I know.
right? And then I wonder, wow, like, you know, sometimes it's just you can just drive away.
Yeah.
You know, you could like, and then so that's why I know that there has to be something more to that.
Right. Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, the places that I've seen that happen, they're not very large cities. There's not a lot of traffic. You'll get to where you're going in 5-10 minutes. So that kind of rage really tells me there's something more to this. This person might be bottling in
Yes.
something that this reaction on the road, or this, you know, being maybe if the other driver maybe kind of cut them off or whatever, or change the lane without indicating, is just a trigger, and
Right.
they need to kind of project to this person. But then what I find interesting is the other drivers, sometimes they don't have they don't have no idea that they pissed you off that much.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so then it kind of becomes just another pointless reaction. But yeah, to answer your question, that's what I see, that I can say, okay, this is a person that probably needs to do something with their anger. But I also recognize that it's more than that.
Yes.
You know? This thing cannot make this person react so strongly.
Extreme, right? Yeah.
So extreme, and they don't even forget. They kind of
they keep
they almost want to follow the person.
Yeah. And they talk to their friends and family. Oh, this guy, you have no idea what this person did to me, right?
Yeah. This stranger, right?
Yeah.
So it's things like that. Yes.
Yeah, no, I totally can see that. And to me, I study lots about ego, right? I feel like ego is one of our biggest enemies. And a person, this need of being right is a problem. You know, that way, like if you think it that way, like, oh, I need to be right. This person disrespected me, right? By not being considerate, or by saying something to me that it's against what I believe. I feel like it's a very dark way to live, you know, like if you don't accept another person's opinions, or if you don't like criticism, or even if you're right, but the person didn't see it that way, I feel like you're going down on a very dark hole, you know? So I see that exactly like that. When you said about road rage, when you talked about it, I can totally see, at least in my personal view, that it's all about disrespect. I felt disrespected by that person, right?
Yeah. Can you? Yes. So strange, right? Because it's like, where did that even come from?
Yes.
All of a sudden we're talking about respect or disrespect. this person doesn't know you. Like, it's just another drive on the road
Yeah.
that you've now taken so personally. And like I said, most of the time they don't know that
Yeah.
you're that pissed off. They carried on with their lives, and it's really sad
It
because
is.
it's so much to carry that doesn't need to be,
Yeah.
I would say. Yes.
Is that phrase like, do you know who I am? Right? So, can
Yeah,
some,
I've heard that one. Yeah.
that one is like a classic one. Oh my God. I have a story, a short story
Mm-hmm.
about a passenger in the airline. I saw this
Mm-hmm.
person, and this person looked at the flight attendant and said,
Mm-hmm.
do you know who I am? Because she said, oh, we're about to take off. So can you please stay in your seat, sir? And he was in a like first class.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, do you know who I am? To the flight attendant. And then she said, I don't know and I don't care. And you need to stay seated. So that was a brilliant way to show him that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. When there's a rule that's, you know, bigger than you, you need to, you need to follow that. I don't know if the guy was the owner of the airline, but still was really nice. And yeah, but like the thing is, can someone who dealt with anger their whole life actually rewire that? Like, I've seen so many people that had problems in their childhood and things like that that build that kind of anger because of things happen, right? Or are some people just built that way forever?
Actually, now this is where I get again to dispel another myth that even though somebody has been angry, has shown anger tendencies ever since they're young, they're children, or they're, even babies. Like, sometimes we see some temperament. No one is born angry. Anger is not a genetic predisposition. What anger is social behavior. It's a learning behavior. So if you've grown up in a home where people react, that's how they communicate, is through yelling and screaming and hitting each other and just raising voices. It seems like it's very aggressive that way. Really, that's what you know. That's what you pick up on.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
And then it's passed down, honestly, through each family member, or sometimes
Yeah,
even generations.
yeah,
And that makes people think that, oh, well, that's just us, that's just me, that's just it. To me, that kind of speaks to an sort of an avoidant behavior, where you're like, oh, well, that's just, that person, that's the way they are. They're always angry. That's just the way it is. Now, you asked whether it can be rewired. Remember, this is not something that's in your genes. It's
right,
not like a chromosome that needs to be replaced.
right,
This is not something that, like, when a mother is expectant, that they have to check the blood and see whether they can get an
right. Angry baby.
angry chromosome or whatever
Right.
to change it. No, 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 no. It's a learned behavior. It's a
Yeah,
social learning that can also be corrected that way. Now, it's important to lean into it. What makes somebody think that that's just who I am? That's just who we are. you know um Leaning into it means, how did we get here? How did we get here? And sometimes people start realizing that, oh my God, like, instead of kind of yelling at each other at our home that time, we could have actually just had a conversation. This is
yeah,
not how every
yeah,
household operates.
yeah,
So leaning into it is allowing themselves to really dissect and figure out why they react that way, and whether there's a different way to deal with whatever, which there normally is.
yeah.
100%. Nothing ever gets resolved if people are just kind of yelling and screaming at each other.
Oh my God, yes. Can you imagine living like that and thinking it's normal? It's just the way I am. Nah, right?
Yes. So, and that's a good news that no one is just an angry person.
Right.
I've had this conversation before. I can't remember who I was talking to. It would have been maybe, the other interview that I was talking about anger management. And it's about, could it be because of shame? Right? So say if somebody is depressed, it's much, much easier for them to react angrily to kind of try to manage those feelings than to say, you know what, I'm depressed.
Yes.
As you know, there's still a stigma.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah.
Right. So anger, as much as that emotion, there's some stigma to it on one hand, but on the other hand, it seems to be very acceptable, an acceptable way of mostly men to react. You know? So what I'm trying to say here, sometimes it's just not really comfortable identifying the real emotion.
Yes.
The real thing that's causing this constant anger that we see. And then it becomes just easier to say, oh, that's just me. That's just me. That's how it is. No, it's not. And yes, it can be changed, which means if it's a rewiring, that can be done. The scientific term is kind of neuroplasticity, where the cells, we know that the pathways can be rebuilt, and we can completely turn the table on a lot of these things that we think were permanent.
Perfect. That's really good to know. If everybody's listening here, you still have a chance. you got this. Don't worry about it. Just do your homework. One of the things that we talked about in the past, Cece, was about self-awareness, and I am obsessed in improving myself to be a better person every day. Like, I'm obsessed with it.
Good for you.
Thank you. I'm obsessed with it because I feel like we have a really short time here, on Earth, and I feel like we should at least try to be, I don't want to sound cliche, like the best version of ourselves, but like we should try to do something meaningful that we actually enjoy doing, because, as I said, short time here. So I see lots of people struggling with the fact that, oh no, this is the way I am, and if people want to accept me, it's up to them. No. Sometimes you're not a nice person. You have to change it. and it's fine. Like, we always improve. I wasn't an introvert back in the day when I was little. I'm not anymore. Like, it's changed lots, And you can change lots of traits in your personality, and you can change ideas, you can change values, you can change tons of things. You can change how you communicate with people, and Cece said it really well. You can change your behavior, or at least you can start thinking about it. Think about the things you're doing. Like, if you're not going on the right direction, you know it. Somebody said something to me this week that was amazing. Like, because I was talking about, narcissists and things like that. And this person said to me, you know what? This person can lie to everybody. But when you put your head on the pillow at night, you know exactly what you're feeling, and you know exactly where you're going. So it's a very deep thought, but you can change. I've changed so many things. Cece, like, I came from Brazil. Cece came from Kenya. Like, we changed so many things in our lives, right? That's easy. You don't need to be a not nice person forever. And Cece, so this week, I posted a video about manipulation that went viral on Instagram, and it was super interesting video because I have this series of video that I talk about this thing called, well, people use this term because people need terms, right? They use dark psychology. I don't like that because for me, it's just psychology. People, right? There's no dark psychology. Everybody can be bad. Everybody can be good. So it's not dark psychology, but still,
Yeah.
So I was talking about manipulation and how people use some manipulation techniques to cause harm and to get benefits for themselves, right?
Mm.
And you
Mhm.
said something about gaslighting. And gaslighting is one of the most damaging forms of manipulation out there. Like it's everywhere,
Yeah.
right? You see narcissists isn't that all the time.
Yeah.
And people were really like emotional talking about this topic
Mhm.
in the comments of that video, men and women. So it's not something just for like men, mental health and things like, no. Everybody see that happening. So how do you know it's happening to you before it's too late? Like, how do you know that this person is
Mhm.
doing this kind of technique with you, the gaslighting and everything?
Oh my God, that's a good question. And I was kind of thinking about it. I had to read a little bit about it. So gaslighting itself is yes, it's a form of manipulation,
Yeah.
and the goal is for the person to have control, to have
Yeah.
control over another person, right? What makes your question very difficult to not to answer necessarily, what why it doesn't have a lot of good news to it is this person, the gaslighter, has a goal, and that goal is to control. Gaslighting is not an event, it's a process. This is a carefully crafted process. I don't know if you can immediately be able to avoid. Let's say this, maybe a little bit of good news. Maybe you'll be able to after you've been through the mud,
Right.
because now you are able to identify it.
Okay.
But if you're just an innocent person getting into, say, a relationship, gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse. It's a type of emotional abuse.
Pushing your buttons, your triggers on
Yeah.
purpose. Yeah.
So it starts with love bombing.
Yes.
You're love bombed, you are in love,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So once they get you there, that's when things like kind of pitting people against each other. They might say, you know what, your family is kind of crazy. You need to stay away from them.
Right. I can totally see people doing that. I've seen so many times.
Right?
Yeah.
That person is whatever. And as I was reading today, one of the signs would be if you want to know you're on a date with a gaslighter, they love talking about themselves. They love talking about their accomplishments. They
Hmm.
also would be talking about very poorly about their exes.
Mm.
Kind of they want to come out as the good
Right.
the good person that was kind of really wronged.
Right.
Yeah. So as you can see, everything is carefully calculated. And okay, another way maybe you can avoid is, again, maybe not you yourself having the experience, somebody else. Maybe you have friends and family
Right.
that know, and they catch and they say, Hudson, oh, you better hold off with that person, or you
Right.
better not, do this. But ultimately it's up to you to see whether, but can you imagine coming there telling you this person is horrible and this person is love bombing you, telling you all the things you like to hear? Who are you going to listen to?
Right. No, it's not even a fair fight, Yeah.
It's not
No,
even
don't worry.
comfortable, right?
Yeah.
No one is going to listen to their family
No.
member right now.
No.
They
Oh,
are
you're
in.
jealous of me. You're jealous because I got this perfect person. Yeah, no, I totally can see that. Yes.
This person saying the right things. They are doing the right things. They are showering me with gifts and whatever. And then ultimately, another way to know you're being gaslit is like this person questions your sense of reality.
Yes.
That's another classic. They will tell you saw something. So say, for example, the family member that's warning you, and you go say, oh, you know what, this is what my sister said. And it's like, they'll actually twist it in a way that you end up thinking, gosh, my sister is such an evil person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
sister becomes the bad.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God, I can totally see that.
Right?
Yeah.
And then they do the projection.
Yeah.
they're the ones that did something, but you call them out, and they will twist it in a way that you end up apologizing.
Yeah.
Because now you see, you've started doubting your senses.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, maybe that's not how it happened. Maybe I might have dreamt. Maybe that was a dream. Maybe it
Wow.
didn't happen that way. So you can see how, honestly, to avoid it right away, you either have experience or you are just really so self-aware that you can get off that train. And the reason for that is gaslighting is not a single event.
Right.
It's not a thing that happens one time and you avoid it like a plague. It's a long process that starts with lab bombing and ends with extreme control, severe abuse, to a point that you no longer remember what's real and what's not.
Wow. This is terrifying. This is terrifying. And actually, I know people at this exact moment going through that. Like, I know people personally. And I was talking to my wife about it because she's very sensitive about things that happen to people in that kind of situation, that another person is manipulating and abusing mentally the other person. And it's not even easy to deal with them because the person will never listen to you. And if the person will never listen to you, sometimes the best thing to do is just to detach yourself from that scenario, right? Like there's no way for you. The only thing you can do is, in my opinion, is literally put your 2 cents if the person wants to listen to you, or at least to say, hey, I did my part. The person can take my advice or my 2 cents, or the person is a friend or a family member or whatever. I at least try to warn and say, hey, this is what I think. And after that, it's not up to you anymore, right? So you're going to have as I said, everything I do here in my career is always about peace of mind, having serenity in life, and of course, being a good person, but like being like a tree that gives good fruit and moves on without applause or things like that, right? You do the good thing, and you move on. You don't want applause. You don't need any of that, right?
Yes.
So yeah, but it's a terrifying situation, and I've seen so many times. As I said, I'm seeing this happening right now. It's terrible. And but like, before we go to the next topic, how possible, or like how realistic, and for sure you had so many clients, how realistic would be for a person that's a really good manipulator, narcissist or whatever, actually feel that he or she needs help from a therapist or from someone like it? Because like, I don't see that person thinking that anything is wrong, right? Because they can't feel anything. So how realistic would that be for a person in that kind of situation? Think, like, for at least for a second, hey, maybe I need help because I'm causing harm. That person is crying because something I said, and maybe I didn't even want to say that. So is that realistic to think that person also wants help? Or no, Hudson, that there's no way?
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, some research, some very minimal, shows promising change
Good.
for gaslighters. Remember, maybe we'll talk about this another day. A lot of narcissists they have a PhD in gaslighting.
Right.
Like they are good.
Yeah.
Right? And if we can use that premise, narcissists really don't have empathy.
Yeah.
or empathy just doesn't come to them much, right? So you begin there. Now, like we've talked about gaslighting as being a process. Somebody has a goal to control another person.
Yeah.
Now, the only way that would change is if their goal changes.
Right.
The goal changes that, you know what, I just want to have just a relationship where everybody is just independent. And again, it's a form of emotional abuse, right?
Yeah.
So oftentimes what they would do as far as therapy, they take their victims to therapy.
Oh my God, come on. Now, it's your problem, not my. Come on.
You're the one that needs help.
Wow.
You've started talking, and I use this word very intentionally, not to really, offend anybody. You're the one that's talking crazy. That's a very, very specific to that.
Wow.
To that event, right? You're the one, because remember, they've completely switched your sense of reality.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're the one that's accusing me of A, B, C, and D, when all I'm doing is this and this and that.
Right.
You're the one that doesn't see all the things that I do. You're the one.
Oh
yeah, usually they're there. They're there with them.
And sometimes, most of the times, very articulate, very like calm, right? In a very sense of like, wow, this person knows what they're talking about, right? So yeah, I can see that. Very charismatic most of the time too.
Absolutely. And because they are very calculated and they're very manipulated, they know this game. It's very hard for us as therapists sometimes to catch on to.
Right, because they're acting also with you guys.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
They know how to play the game. They know how to, or sometimes tell you what you want to hear. It's like, well, you know what? That's right. This is what I'm going to do. This is this is this and this is that. But in reality, the people that live with them are the ones that really see the true nature of the abuse, the manipulation. So I would say some research says, yes, it can change. There's a very minimal changes that can happen that these people can actually say, this is a problem and I need to change. But for the most part, and again, if I'm talking from the perspective of narcissism, we have not. I would say though, I can't remember. I wish I had her name here. She's really good. She talked about how the most she's seen these people show any drop of consideration or compassion is them saying, I'm going to leave the relationship. Wow. Not that I'm going to apologize or I'm going to say, not apologizing, not owning anything. I'm not going to be accountable. I'm just going to say I'm not going to date that person anymore.
Wow.
So that's the closest to.
But that to me sounds more like I'm too good to that person. I'm too good for them. That sounds very like that to me. Very superior. Okay, if she or he is not appreciating what I'm doing, I'm leaving. It's not even like, okay, I'll make sure that this person will be fine. No, it's like putting myself in a pedestal. It's a terrible way.
I think you're right. Yeah. So we don't know. We don't see the accountability. We don't see. And if it's there, it's I've talked about trauma bonding.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So trauma bonding is when you have somebody, they put you on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And then they crush you. So, tell you love bomb, and then boom, you are the piece of, excuse my language, piece of shit. They start the verbal abuse and they minimize you, they criticize you, they belittle you, right? And then you feel bad. They come apologizing. So they take you on this roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
So the victim is left saying, but they're really good. When it's good, it's good.
Oh my God, that's the classic. No. It doesn't happen that often,
Yes.
Right? When it's
That's
good, it's so good.
Mhm.
Like, come on.
Yes, because really, when this apology comes around, it comes around big,
Yeah.
right? And that's why this is what keeps the cycle going, right?
Yeah.
They cling onto the good moments,
Yeah. Yeah.
when they bring flowers, when
Yeah.
they are doing all the household chores, when they're, you know, yeah. So yes, you can see how, like, really getting out of that, it happens, but it takes a long time.
I can totally see that. And I was actually talking to a group of women,
Mhm.
and well, some people, they know that that I'm a former relationship coach, and they asked me about some advice and things like that, and they were talking about their partners and things like that, and I said, well, the only thing I'm gonna say, it was like probably 5 or 6
Mhm.
women, and I was the only man at the table, and they asked me, and they said, what's a good piece of advice that you would give us about, like our husbands, our relationships? I would say, well, the only thing I would say is, if you had a daughter and she had a husband exactly like your husband, would you be happy for her? If the answer is no, you're not in a good relationship. And they all were shocked. And I could
Mhm.
see on their
Mhm.
faces that no, like they weren't not that happy, So I can see and I can feel for people that are struggling. Of course, you should be. That's why I created this channel and this project, because
Mhm.
in my head is, you should be responsible for everything that happens in your life. Of course, that
Mhm.
you have control, right? You don't have control if your partner that's actually an amazing person suddenly goes crazy. Like, you don't have, because you control your thoughts and your actions, but don't try to control anything else. But you still can choose that person to share your life with. You still
Mhm.
can choose, like, the path you want to go, and the job you want to do, everything. So to me, is you always should try to follow the path of peace of mind, releasing all the toxicity,
Mhm.
and most people still, not most people, but like lots of people, maybe most people, they still are not aware that they can do it. They, like, I see people thinking it is what it is, and that's how life is. That's my life. That's the person I choose, and that's it. Like, no, that's it. And they live like that for 40 years. Like, so
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to educate and show people that no, you have another option. And I see lots of people, because now all my feed is, psychology, tons of therapists, tons of like philosophers, and I
Yeah.
really love it. My feed is great now.
Mhm.
uh, but I see lots of bad advice out there, lots, like an
Mhm.
insane amount. I'm not gonna name any influencer or whatever, but I see so many things. Cece, I've seen things that I actually like. One of the things that I've seen that I can name it is like the hustle culture for men, right? I see people saying, don't worry about your feelings. Just keep going. Work 20 hours a day. You sleep when you die. I see people saying that as if it
Mhm.
was something really healthy to do. Because when I started my business, I was working 16 hours a day. I know how harmful it is. I wouldn't recommend that to people. Now I work way less and I produce way more. So no, that's like, no. But I still see young men, mostly young men, taking
Mhm.
this advice as like a religion. Like, no, I need the grind, I need the hustle, I need this, I need the
Mhm.
Lambo, right? I need the Lambo to impress women. if
Yeah.
I have if I
Uh-huh.
have the Lambo, I have all the girls I want, blah blah blah. And I feel sad for them. But
Mhm.
but in you as a therapist, what do you think? What's the anger advice? Like, yeah, like, what's the anger advice everyone gives, or like tons of people give, that you as a therapist know is actually wrong?
thinking that the emotion of anger exists in isolation.
Hmm.
Right? That's the one thing that we all, most of us anyway, until we know better, get wrong.
Hmm.
It's again, today I've kind of been dispelling some myths that anger always leads to violence, that some people are just angry, or that anger should be expressed explosively, you know. All those are bad advice. Like if you've ever heard somebody say that, it's bad advice. Yes, anger, if I should clarify, sometimes it's a primary emotion. By that I mean it's kind of the only one that, say if somebody called you a name and you don't appreciate it, I'm guessing you're going to be angry about it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But mostly it's a secondary emotion, and that's where that's why we say it doesn't exist in a vacuum, in isolation, I should say, because there are always other emotions underneath it. And more, in my experience dealing with people doing anger management, I can tell you at the end of it, I realized that at the end of the 8-week program, everybody there is there not because of anger as a primary emotion. They were there because a lot of them are dealing with childhood trauma, probably things that happened to them, and they just grew up so angry at that kind of mistreatment they experienced. But all people have seen is just this angry man, right? For some people, it's maybe someday we'll talk about boundaries. It's just not being able to have healthy boundaries, and they've been taken advantage of and taken advantage. So
Yeah.
it's just the exhaustion from not having healthy boundaries. Some people is anxiety, very common mental health issue that people deal with is what's causing them to react that way. When anger is being used as a mask, which most of the time it is, and mostly it might sound like I'm picking on men, but that's where we see it mostly. Men are the least likely to go to therapy. They are very hesitant to talk about their feelings and stuff like that. But the emotion of anger, just showing anger, sometimes makes them feel a little bit more
Alive?
seen, oh yes, alive and powerful, right?
Yeah.
And so because they can ride
Yeah.
wave for a long time, all these things end up just falling behind. The problem is people around them are suffering.
Yeah.
They've lost friends, they've lost jobs, their family doesn't want to deal with them, and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that at the end of the program, most people can say, I don't think really, anger itself was the issue. It was just me not being able to express what I was really feeling. Sometimes it's resentment of, I've told you, we talked about men's mental health, resentment from always being the one that people want help from, but no one ever cares to ask how they're doing. So they have that resentment for years and years and years and years. And the only way they've known to do is to react is just snap at people and be angry and shout and yell and all that stuff. So yes, the misconception is that this is just, you're just a little angry and whatever, and or just that's how you are, so we don't need to help, or we don't need really to do anything about it. No. And this is the biggest one, Hudson, that anger is very important. We don't want to get rid of anger. Please stop trying to get rid of anger. We need it. We need it because it's a messenger. It's there for a reason. What we need is to manage it well so that it stops causing problems in our lives. We need it. Don't try to get rid of your anger. Just learn how to manage it healthily.
That would be one of the answers for it, eh? Because people, I've seen videos of people and say, "Oh, how to get rid of your anger," you know? This advice is like terrible
Mhm,
too.
mhm, mhm,
So yeah, that's like I've seen like so many situations and so many people dealing with things, and then people that are 70, and they're dealing with things like from the inside. They're dealing with things that happened 60 years ago. They never tried to find an answer, and then this is who I am. This is who I become, and
mhm,
like I became like this. This is it. Like I'm not gonna change. No, no. Like there is a way. There is a way, and
mhm.
I've seen so many stories. Like I've seen, and I don't know why. Maybe because I talk too much, but people love to talk to me about their problems. Like I meet someone, they start talking about deep problems, and I asked people, "This, do you know this person? Did this person say anything to you about this?" No. So I noticed that people they start to release and of course I show interest too. Like I'm very empathetic, and I am actually I want to know. Like, I am very curious about human behavior, and I'm very curious to know why the person thinks like that, and why the person acts like that, and why the person is suffering for that. In some stories, and well, you can learn like you can learn at least one thing from the most horrible person, and you can learn 100 good things about good people, but there's always something to learn, even from the most horrible human being. There's always something that you can take something, right? And learn from it. And tons of stories that I've learned that I didn't experience, that I haven't experienced like anything close to what I never had any trauma or anything really bad that happened to me. I'm grateful for that. But I see that people suffer for things that happened a long time ago, and I see people walk into the abyss and they don't think of it. And for me, that's all fascinating. I I want to study it, and I know that I can learn tons from stories. So, but I'm not a therapist, like I am more like, I would say, well, I have an MBA in coaching and leadership, but
Mhm.
I would say that I'm a writer. Like one day maybe a philosopher, but not a therapist. But as a therapist, because I know we've talked about this, and I know that you have your therapist cap. You put it on when you're a therapist, then you leave it in your room, and then I know that. But
Yeah,
still, Cece, I
yeah,
still believe that
yeah.
some things, they still stick with us. Like you're not a psychopath that can just have no feelings, you know? So, oh my God, that would be a great topic for the next podcast. Is it possible to find a psychopath that's
Mhm.
a therapist? A psychotherapist? That's a great question.
Oh my
Can you
God. Oh
imagine
my goodness.
that? Can you
I,
imagine?
I can't even imagine that. Yeah, I
So,
don't think my brain can
let's
process that
let,
right now.
let's process that for the next, because that's a great question. A great question would also be, can
Uh-huh.
two narcissists be in a relationship, and two gaslighters in this? Can you imagine poking each other all the time? For the next podcast. But the last question that I want to ask you is, if it's like, as a therapist, right? Like, what's one client story about anger that changed the way you treat every patient after that, if you have one?
Client story about anger that changed. The one that stands out to me, there was a time in my life that I worked in down south, and we were talking about how to really change the way we talk to ourselves, how we, the thoughts that we get. And I mean, there's nothing we can do. Like, thoughts come to our mind the same as feelings and emotions. But the interesting thing about thoughts is we can always challenge them.
Yes.
We can challenge thoughts. Unlike, feelings and emotions are really different because they, if I can use the, CBT kind of argument, it says what we think kind of affects what we feel and in turn affects how we behave, right? So in this case, we were trying to dispel some of those just baseless automatic thoughts that really they just pop up. They're not facts. They just pop up in our heads. And we are all, I mean, every human being has thoughts that come to their minds, whether they notice them or not. They're there. And if they're negative, then they really affect how we feel. And sometimes they might dictate how we live our lives.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked each client in the class to say, to kind of give an alternative to, they'll read a statement and then they'll give a more balanced thought. So they will read a kind of quote unquote twisted, a distorted thought, this negative automatic thought that comes out of nowhere, and just give it a little bit of a balanced twist to it. And there was one that said, "No one loves me." And one of the clients distinctly, and he was one of those that was really just at the beginning hated the program because he was forced to be there, hated it, and almost hated me with it. Like I represented the thing that he was forced to do.
Yeah.
But then you kind of sort of understand that it's obviously not the greatest. But anyway, he said, "Oh no, that's not true," like very forcefully. And he says, "My mom loves me." Like so forcefully, like my mom loves me. Like that statement is just wrong. It's awful. And it just lit up the room. Because initially he never cared to even participate in class.
Yeah.
Like, he never, I talked to him, he looks very, very disgusted with me. But like, he just lit up and said, like, there's a million things that my mom has done that I know she loves me. So if I get a thought like that, that's just stupid. So when somebody says that, that's how you know that, oh my, like, that, yeah, something is shifting. So really, that's what I look for when I have this conversation with clients. Like, you can see the light bulb go on because they're like, no, like you see almost kind of wheels turning in real life that, and sometimes I'm like, there's no way I could have come up with that.
The aha moment.
Those aha moments, like I've had them so much actually this week. But like, it's those are some of the memorable things that I can tell you when they're able to really recognize that thought, even though it came from my head, doesn't mean that it's a fact.
Yeah.
There's nothing that supports it. Everything says the contrary. And that was like, I still remember that day. And so that would be the memorable story that I remember in terms of anger management.
That's pretty cool because I released the video today exactly about that. Not every thought that crosses your mind, your head, is yours. Some thoughts, you would think about everything, but you don't need to negotiate with them. Like, you think about it, you can totally reject it. And I never thought of it like that until I read a book called Men Searching for Meaning. And that book changed my perspective because the author, he lived in a concentration camp. And he noticed, he was a psychologist, And he noticed that it didn't matter the horrible things that he was going through. People could not change his thoughts and force him to think in something very specifically. And he actually managed to, leave that place after everything, after the war and everything. And that sticks with me. Like the sense of like, no, I can reject this thought. This thought, it is stupid. I don't even need to think of it again. No, next one, next one, And one thing that I saw, because we see everything nowadays on the internet, right? And I've seen people like, oh, how can you stop your negative thoughts? Or how can you stop your thoughts? And in my head, it was like, have you ever asked, like, oh, how can I stop my heart of working? Or how can I stop my liver? Or how can I, it's the same idea. How can you stop your thinking process? Only if you die, So I think that the best way is, as you said, if the thought is very like, wow, this is really causing me an emotion, to think of it for a second. Hey, is this me saying this to myself or just a random thought from, the universe or whatever? I think people should start having this conversation with themselves about, hey, this thought in my head is actually not me. Is something that people said, or is something that happened to me that I'm like trying to, relive that again. But if, at least in my opinion, if you want to have peace of mind, you cannot negotiate with those thoughts. You cannot think and keep thinking of it. And as we were talking about the road rages, people live that moment for like 2 minutes. They relive that moment. They think of it for months. People for years. Oh my God, when I was here in the street last time, I had this argument with that. They keep, I don't know, maybe it's a survival mechanism that the brain, right? But yeah, it's very interesting. And I'm glad that happened to your client. And I'm pretty sure that he loved anger management after that. Because, you know what? I always recommend that to everyone. Because, it was really, it opened my eyes for so many things. I'm super grateful to you because you helped me a lot, Cece. Like, as you know, my life as a solopreneur is not easy. Being an entrepreneur, wow, you know how it is. And the self-awareness thing and the anger and the triggers and like, oh yeah, like now everywhere I go, I have my protein bar with me, Cece, because of you. So yeah.
Eat, if you're hungry, eat.
Yes. So yeah, like daily things that you just adjust. I feel like with a few adjustments, you have a way like more peaceful life. A few adjustments. As I said to you one day, we were talking on Instagram or something. I really believe that removing bad habits is the best way. I don't even think like, for example, because people, they love to say, oh, I need good habits. I need to change my life. No. Just focus on like removing toxicity. And you have, of course, if you want to try something different, it's always good. Something new will be good for you. But keep focusing on less toxic things in your life. I feel like that's a beautiful thing. That's how I live though, and that's how that's what I try to preach. But so before we finish this first episode, we're here. It's almost 1 hour of episodes. Amazing, and I want to thank you so much for your time and for everything you've done for me, for so many people. I think you have a brilliant career and on social media that I'm glad that I gave you some 2 cents, and then now you're on social media all the time. And I know that I'm a little part of this. Before we go, if someone's watching this and thinking they need help, they see now that, they saw some signs, people, they're having too much fights. How can they find you, or how can they find your team?
Yes, we have an amazing team. Our counseling business is called Amani Roots Counseling. And our website is Amani Roots, and I'll spell that. It's AMANI, Amani. Roots is ROUTES .ca or .com. You will find us there. It's easy, super easy to book. You can book directly, or you can just send an email, info@amaniroots.ca, or you can just send an email to me, cc@amaniroots.ca, or you can call us. We are located in Manitoba, Canada, 204-441-3327. And we also have social media page. Some of them are in the company name, Amani Roots Counseling, and some of them are in my name, Cece Tardiff, or Cece Onyari Tardiff. And we are waiting for you to connect. We have an amazing anger management program. Amazing.
I know.
I guarantee you it will change your life. Guarantee. If it doesn't, then we'll have a different discussion about that. It will change your life. I promise you. Yeah. So yeah, hope to see you there.
Great, Cece. I know that. Well, we're gonna put all the links for of Cece's website, and also for her personal social media, also her business social media, all in the description of this podcast. And also, Cece, I've heard that you have a new newsletter, right? I'm really excited for that.
That's my new project.
Nice.
Yes.
Tell me more about it.
So the newsletter is, we named it Frontline Newsletter by Cece Tardiff. The idea came from really inspired by the experience we had during COVID, where I don't know if you remember, during COVID, the frontline people, so people like me, and other people that were literally in the front line, so the nurses, the doctors, the people at the grocery stores, we were there. I personally never worked from home. We were supposed to be at the office doing whatever we could to take care of clients, take care of patients and stuff like that. But then after that, and we got used to it, that's what we are supposed to do. Remember we were called essential.
I remember.
Remember the term essential workers. But then after that, I can speak for myself. No one ever came to ask me, how are you doing? How was that for you?
Yeah.
But again, it's not something we expected.
Yeah.
We are so conditioned to be there for others.
Yeah.
Helping others, making sure everybody was comfortable, making sure you're reaching, making sure everybody else is comfortable. But for us, really, we didn't think we even needed that until somebody kind of, you take a step back and it's like, wow, yeah, it's been now 6 years since. And I don't think really, for me anyway, no one ever asked how it was for me to always having to go to the office and do all that. So the newsletter really provides some of those, talks about some of those topics like burnout, boundaries, and gives resources on how to really take care of ourselves. Because we need to take care of ourselves in order to continue taking care or serving our clients. Kind of like what they say in the plane, you put on your oxygen mask first before you can help somebody else.
Yeah.
That is where it came from. And it's a bunch of different topics. There's a free version. And then we have, it's still new. We are still kind of developing the other packages. But the paid packages have a lot more kind of resources to it. And then the highest package, which again, they are very affordable, will have every month I will be there live, for the subscribers, so we can talk about some of these topics. Maybe they might have received a newsletter about, we talk about anger management, for example, and they're curious to talk about it. That's what we will talk about. So yeah, it's still in the works, but the free version should be coming out this month. So go ahead. We'll put up the link there, but you can also find it through the website. Subscribe, and we'll send it to you. Yeah. If you don't
Perfect.
subscribe, you won't see it. So yes, looking forward to really having these conversations with all of you.
Perfect, Cece. Yeah, like as I always try to say in this new channel, the best way to find peace, serenity is to be aware, have this kind of self-awareness and good tools that will guide you in this journey. Remember, the world is not all like, it's not like all like Disney, like everything's beautiful. No. There are some terrible things going on, but if you are aware, if you try to be aware, if you know yourself, if you know your boundaries, if you respect yourself, I think you'll have an easier way in this world. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm sure that that's exactly what Cece is trying to do here. And yeah, Cece, thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate your time, your advice, and I hope to see you soon in another podcast.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys,
Yeah.
see you all soon.